Can you imagine 150 years of colonization? Controlling trade systems and importing drugs into the country just for the sake of interest. Hong Kong became a British colony through two wars, the First and the Second Opium Wars. It was the end of the last significant colony in the British Empire. Opium is a highly addictive drug that is extracted from the poppy plant. This is poppy plant. The thing is, these flowers look very unharmful, but the opium is dried latex obtained from the seed capsules of the opium poppy. So, how does this thing made Britain colonize Hong Kong for a period of 150 years? Many people think Hong Kong is a country. No, it's not. It's a special administration of the People's Republic of China. Hong Kong is a coastal city and a major port in southern China. Hong Kong and its 260 nearby islands and peninsulas are located in the mouth of the river delta. This is the reason behind why most of people think Hong Kong is not a part of China. The area of Hong Kong is distinct from mainland China, but it's considered a part of Greater China. The region of Hong Kong has been inhabited since the Old Stone Age, later becoming part of Chinese Empire. It became an important free port and eventually a major international and financial center. Just a quick history. Back in the 18th and early 19th centuries, Britain was having a huge problem with its trade with China, and the reason was Britain bought more than it sold. Chinese goods such as silk, porcelain, and especially tea were very popular. And you know what? Chinese merchants did not want to buy British goods in return. As a result, Britain had to buy silver as a means of exchange, eventually risking a silver shortage. For that reason, Britain could not afford to keep paying silver as a means of exchange, and the solution to this trade imbalance was opium. Britain started growing opium in its Indian colonies and exporting it to China, where it spread through the population. China started experiencing its own problems. It was losing silver. Instead, they were receiving opium, which is a highly addictive drug, and there was a rapid growth rate of opium addiction amongst the Chinese community. In response, opium was completely banned in China in 1796. However, Britain had no other option. They must still import opium to keep their trade with China. British merchants kept illegally smuggling opium into the country, and they were very unsatisfied with the new rules and who they could trade with in China. The Chinese government made a system. All foreign trade in China had to go through the Hong Kong merchants, and Hong Kong merchants were responsible to keep all foreign traders to follow the rules and regulations. The concept is British merchants could only trade with Hong Kong merchants at the southern port of Canton, now Guangzhou, which was close to Hong Kong. The drug problem in China got worse and became uncontrollable, and the addiction of opium drug reached its peak. Importing opium drug into the country is banned and forbidden, but still the British merchants were smuggling in over 1,000 tons of opium per year. But this time, the government created a new rule against illegal smugglers. In 1838, opium smugglers were risked the death penalty. In 1839, Chinese officials introduced a system where traders would only be allowed to enter the country if they signed a deal stating they had no illegal goods. On the other hand, British trade officials ordered their merchants not to sign the deal. The First Opium War eventually broke out on 4th of September in 1839. For a quick recap, a Chinese villager were murdered by one of the British merchants. The Chinese authorities requested to receive the killer from the British merchants, but the British merchants refused to give the killer to Chinese authorities. In retaliation, Chinese officials put up a blockade against Macau. This is where the British had been staying. The blockade forced the British to be expelled and moved to Hong Kong. Chinese officials also prevented food from being sold to British merchants. British merchant officials issued an ultimatum stating that if the British would not be allowed to trade for food with locals in Kowloon, British ships would open fire. The First Opium War started, and in 1842 Britain won the war against China, so the British victory led to the Treaty of Nanking. This treaty gave Hong Kong Island to Britain, and it allowed Britain to trade freely with any merchants in China, and still, the treaty made China to pay damage for the destroyed opium during the conflict. Please subscribe Ecotech Hub for more videos like this. Thanks.